You see where your business can go. To get there, you may need
another 10 trucks.
At Century Insurance, we put more than 115 years of industry experience to work to help protect you as you
launch a new delivery service
or
expand into a new region
and reach your business goals. Century, right by you. Property and casualty coverages and underwritten and safety services are provided by a member of the Century Insurance Group, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. For a complete listing of companies, visit century.com. Policies, coverages, benefits, and discounts are not available in all states. See policy for complete coverage details.
From the Delta Sky Club,
welcome back, Miss Klein,
to the Jet Bridge, Delta Airlines relies on 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to power operations and serve customers faster. Together, we're putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information throughout the airport. This is elevating customer experience. This is Delta Airlines with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
You're listening to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while naming characters with word association and cackling.
Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Hey, HBs. When this episode is published, Sabrina will be on her trip to England. She's in England times right now. Oh my God, I hope she's having the best time. This is going to be part one of How the Marquess Was Won by Julie Ann Long. If you're a patron, you can access this episode in full and without ads right now. And on this Friday, you're getting a quickie on the Zoe Draven alien romance rabbit hole Sabrina recently fell down. So get stoked for that. Today, though, we're recapping the first half of How the Marquess Was Won. Here we go. Oh, hey, Sabrina.
Oh, hi, my little spoiler princess.
Oh, no. HBs, I did it again.
Okay, this one was not nearly as egregious as The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. Hey, listener, do you remember in the Undertaking of Heart and Mercy episode at the beginning when we told you all about the text messages where Mel assumed I was done with the book and I
understandably in that case, understandably
50% not understandably. You know what? I'll give you a pass for the Undertaking of Heart and Mercy.
Oh, okay.
Because, listener, you remember that episode, which I've listened to the beginning of that episode just to you know, I was curious. You remember when Mel said, I will never make that assumption again? This son of a gun.
What an asshole I am.
I texted.
What a breaker of promises.
I texted this spoiler princess. And I said, Mel, this book.
In all caps.
Yeah. And then an hour later, I said, to be clear, I am not done with book.
Right. And that was like Monday. We were recording on Wednesday.
You got that message Monday night after midnight. It was 1 a.m. your time saying I was not done with book.
Oh. Details.
This son of a gun texted
Such an
me
asshole.
the next day at 2 p.m. Mind you, listener, I have a work job.
She has a full-ass work job that she does work at.
She texted me yesterday at 2 p.m.
Did I really?
No, it was 3 p.m. But still, that is the
Oh my
work
God.
day.
That's
And
not
she said, I think blah, blah, blah at his offer to make her his mistress. And I said, because I was very confused. I was like, what is this about? For?
What could it possibly be about since you made me such heartfelt promises?
And she said how the Marquess was won. And I sent her 3 question marks and said, I'm not there yet, Mel. Cry face times 3. And guess what, listener? I got ghosted again.
Why are you friends with me? Why are you
Because
friends
it's
with
so
me?
fucking funny. Like,
I didn't even mean to ghost you. I was just like so chagrined I had to put my phone down because I had to just like sit in my chills, you know? Like I just had to like sit with it and like berate myself a tiny bit about it. And then I forgot to pick my phone back up and apologize because I had apologized so thoroughly in my brain.
it was honestly so perfect. It was so fucking funny. I was laughing like the minute I registered what had happened. Because literally less than 24 hours before, I had listened to our conversation where you were like, I promise I will never. And you know what? You know what, Mel?
Yeah.
You did stick to the letter of that promise, okay?
Did I? Tell me how.
You stuck to
did
the
I do
letter of it because you didn't assume I was finished. Okay?
No, it was a hard 45% into the book, 50% into the
It
book.
was like 60%, but that's okay.
Okay, all right.
But like, but
Yeah, it wasn't the end of the book at all. It wasn't even close, frankly.
You stuck to
I'd say
the letter of the promise, not the. I feel like not the
spirit, not the spirit.
That's
No,
not
not
the
the spirit. No, not the spirit
No,
at all.
I would like to put out there
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you shouldn't assume at all where I am in
Where
the
you are,
book.
where you are. No, absolutely not. Anyway,
It was
that's
fucking
what.
beautiful.
Good 55 maybe percent
This
into
is,
the book.
you know what? It is 45% or probably about 35% better than the last time. Okay.
Thank you so
This
much.
is
Thank you for the
this is growth.
incremental.
I will say, speaking of growth, that was actually a great segue. That was your growth. I'd like to share some of my growth with you, Mel.
Please.
So we decided on this book a while ago, right? It was Patreon a while
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And I realized it was the 6th book in a series.
Yeah, and you
And I
can
was
tell
like,
with all the
I need to
all the
read
references
the
back.
first 5 books in order to read the 6th one because I am who I am. My growth, Mel.
Did you only read 3 of them?
I only got through the first book.
Whoa.
I read book 6 out of order.
What? Sabrina?
I'm never doing it again. I fucking hated it.
Again.
I hated it.
Honestly, Sabrina, for the past couple of weeks, I've just had in the back of my mind, Sabrina might need to reschedule so that she can finish whatever books before.
Honestly, Mel, I almost did. Like, I got like
I wouldn't have
maybe
blamed you.
I got like 30% into this book and because I wasn't even done with the first book, okay? When it like
Oh shit.
I started book 6 because like just life got busy, right? And so I just didn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't. And so I was like probably 70% of the way through the first book on like Sunday night, Monday.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh shit, I have 7 days to finish these 5 books. And then I didn't.
And they're hefty boys.
They are. And
they're basically Lord Waterboard, you know? Lord Waterboard is huge, apparently. He's like
starting off
6'2".
strong, listener.
What?
With Mel's word association game.
Oh no, what's his name?
Waterburn, but I like Waterboard better.
Damn it! I'm just melling all over the place
You
today.
really are. Like, listener, this is a great...
I'm getting my mel everywhere.
This is a great episode. If you've never listened to a Heaving Bosoms episode before, this is a great starter to really just get a glimpse, like scratching the surface. Like, this is such a good representation.
Oh boy.
But yeah, no. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm doing it. I made the decision and I did it. And I started the book on Monday night.
Wow. I'm honored. HBs, like, please understand what a monumental act this was for Sabrina.
I did the thing. This was for you,
Wow.
Melody, and for you, listener. Actually, listener, it doesn't
Wow.
matter because this is like a month before it comes out anyway. So like you would never have had any idea. But this is for you, Melody, so that we didn't keep
Thank
pushing it.
you. That's
Especially
really
after the
sweet
episode
of
was already
you.
announced that it was coming out this month, right? But anyway, I got to like 35% Monday night.
Yeah.
And I already knew, I was like, I already regret this decision. Like immediately regretted
Oh,
this. And I did. I seriously considered being like, Mel, can we like push this a
yeah.
week so that, cause like
Yeah.
now I'm obsessed listener. Now that cause I think the problem is I was earball reading like,
Mm-hmm.
cause while I was doing things and it
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't quite like the narrator is great, but
You know, the same thing happened to me.
it
I
wasn't quite
realized
grabbing.
it wasn't clicking for some reason. Like I couldn't get with the voice, and it wasn't necessarily the narrator, and it wasn't necessarily the prose. It was just like
Yeah.
something in my brain wasn't clicking. And so I just like at like chapter 3, I decided to go back and start again just to be
Mhm.
sure I knew what was going on.
Mhm.
And then it clicked. But yeah, it was almost like, oh my God, it was almost like, you know, that universal moment for Americans in a BBC show where you try to do it without the subtitles and then you realize you have no idea what anybody's saying. So then you turn on the subtitles for a while. And then once you get used to the accent again, you can probably turn the subtitles off at some point. And I know it's a totally universal experience that all Americans understand and enjoy. Right, Sabrina?
Yep. Yep. Universal experience. Everybody has that.
No, there are no Anglophiles who like
Nope.
totally get it from the start at all. Yeah. And I'm
Nobody.
not sitting in front of one right now for sure.
Nope. Nope. None of this. It's like a whole different language.
Anyway, thank you for validating
Yep. You're welcome. That's what I'm here
that
for. Mhm.
truly American experience.
Yep. That's what I'm here for. That's what best friends do. They validate each other. Anyway, it's been a while since I've regretted a decision more in my life. Like
I know, right?
10% into book 6. And like listener, if you're not somebody who is insufferably, chronically, infuriatingly nosy, then you would probably not have a problem reading this book as a
Hilariously,
standalone.
I did not have a problem. I was like, who's Olivia? Wonder what her deal is. Anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. So like me, as somebody who, well, to put it kindly, I like information.
You like context.
That's it.
Is what you
That's
like.
what it is. And so not having the context, 'cause especially I was like reading it and they would reference Miles and I was like, oh my God, I know that he's the second book. And then they'd reference
Mhm.
like
And
Violet
there's
and I
those
was like,
two
oh my
brothers in
God,
the
I
thing,
know
and then
that
Violet, yeah.
oh God. And like literally, because I've listened to the first book where the first book really talks very in depth about all of these, because neither of these people are Redmonds or Everseas in this book, listener.
But
And
those
so
are the big, those are
those
like
are the
the two
families. That's what the
families.
whole series is based around,
Oh,
is
interesting.
those families. And like the whole thing, you learn about the Everseas and the Redmonds decades, centuries, generations long feud and the curse that every generation there's an Eversea and a Redmond who tragically fall in love. And that is referenced in this book
Oh, they,
at
oh,
the end. I will point it out to you.
interesting.
And so like that's another thing, like I would never have caught that if I hadn't read part of the first book, right? And like
No,
all of these
absolutely.
little Easter eggs, because there were so many fucking Easter eggs that I didn't
Yeah.
know what they were, but I knew it was an Easter egg from
Mhm.
another fucking book. And I was like,
Yeah, you could see the pastel, but you couldn't make out the pattern.
I was, oh my God, I was like rocking reading the book. I was
I
like,
hear
son
you.
of a bitch, son
I
of
mean,
a bitch, son
I
of a
will
bitch.
say that to Julianne Long's credit, I understood even without that in-depth context that like this was the Hatfield and McCoys of Sussex. You know, like I understood from what was happening in the book that like it's a long-standing feud, all of that.
Hatfields
like,
and
good-
McCoys,
good on.
another universal
I'm so sorry. You don't
knowledge
know
experience.
about the Hatfields and McCoys? Oh my gosh. They're like a studied feud in Appalachia that kind of still exists today. There's a great Last Podcast on the Left series on them, too. So if you want to just like, dip your toe, that's a good place to start.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Anyway,
a
it's a
rabbit
big,
hole I have
it's
time
a
for.
big feud. No, totally, absolutely, and worth your time. You know what I mean? Really impactful on the rest of your life.
It's going to affect the rest of my life very, very intensely. Oh, don't worry. If I go down that rabbit hole, it will impact the rest of my life very
it will.
intensely just because of who I am as a person.
Yeah. All right, we have patrons to shout out.
Oh, one more thing, though.
Oh, one more thing, yeah.
Yesterday, I kept reading how the Marquess was won.
Yeah.
And I got about 50% through. I got to the part that you spoiled.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't fucking do this. I paused and went and finished the first book because I couldn't.
Got it.
And the stupidest thing is the first book couple doesn't even fucking come up in this book. But I just
got it.
I could. Like I said,
I don't blame you.
Everything in me to be like, yeah, we can still record tomorrow.
Wow. Gosh. Yeah.
Honestly, if I ever propose to somebody, don't let them listen to this episode because this is a greater expression of love and adoration and care and commitment to a person.
Commitment, yeah, and dedication.
To
I'm
a
not
person.
being facetious when I say I'm honored.
This is the most romantic thing I've ever done in my life.
I see it and I love it and I appreciate it. Oh my God.
Yeah. Any hoodles. So that's the end of that. So I'm twitching.
Thank you.
I've read the first book.
Yeah.
And the 6th book in this series.
Holy
and I've
shit.
learned my lesson.
Yeah,
and I will
fair.
never do it again.
Although I can't understand it, I would have been totally fine with you saying we need to shift something because I don't have time for these 5 books. Like, I get that it's important to your brain and I don't understand it, but I would roll with it.
Hilariously, I did drop, other than my work job, which, pays for me to survive, I did drop everything else. Anyway, so we have patrons.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much to everyone who has joined the Patreon. And thank you so much to everybody who's been so positive and sweet and supportive about our Patreon revamp. It's really seriously meant a lot to us because I don't want to speak for Sabrina, but I have been nervous about, big changes like that. So thank you for being just awesome. Like as usual, I'm nervous every time. And then y'all come out just as you are. And you're so loving and wonderful. And I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a little chat on the Discord in the episode commentary thread that I was legit tearing up over.
Oh,
because everyone was just so sweet and supportive and wonderful. And I just, we love y'all.
We do. Yeah.
Not just patrons either, just all of you, but specifically the patron support has been understanding and loving. And it's been
right.
wonderful.
But I mean, same thing in the group, same thing on just regular social media. People have been incredible. It's been really, really nice. So thank you so, so much for your direct support, Danny W. and Carrie S.H.,
Sarah G. and Linnea K.,
Rebecca L. and Monica J.,
Amanda A. and Elizabeth G.,
Elizabeth D. and Sarah H.,
Melissa P. and Katie. Thank y'all. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, thanks for being there. We have a ton of fun over there.
All right.
Okay.
We need to jump into this book because, boy, I could talk about this book for years.
18 hours. Yeah, minimum. Okay, so when we open up, a man has been shot, okay? He's stumbling into a pub in Sussex, the Pig and Swallow, maybe it's called. And they're like, oh no, we have to get him to a bed or whatever. And he keeps on just mumbling about this woman who doesn't love him. And he's like, she's not even pretty. She's just so beautiful.
Don't want to close my eyes because she's all that I see.
Oh,
she doesn't love me. And then Zippy Zach takes us on a little journey to 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And see Phoebe.
She's a school teacher, and she is in a shop that she really loves. And she and the proprietor of the shop are joking back and forth about how she's a gentle lady who goes to balls.
What's his
They
name?
are
Mel?
so cute. He's Mr. Phineas. Phineas Swallowbait. Phineas. What's his
Wow.
name?
I'm impressed that your last name rhymed at least.
Did it?
Yeah, his name's Postlethwaite.
Oh.
Wow.
That was wild.
That's impressive. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Shit. Mr. Postlethwaite, which really weirdly does go with Swallowbait.
Swallowbait really well.
What a stupid thing to say.
No, it's beautiful. It's perfect, Mel. I love it.
Thank you so much. Phonetically and, rhythmically, it really matches up.
Impressive, right? It's
Thank
much
you.
better than thinking, oh, I just got the word association of waterboard to waterburn.
Oh,
They could both be
because
tortures.
Because he sucks. He's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he tortures Phoebe.
Mhm.
That I made it waterboard.
Yep.
Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. What I love about Shopify is how no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The highest achievers among us are the people still striving, still reaching for something. The people who aren't satisfied to stay where they are and want to keep climbing higher. And it's those people who approach the impossible and embrace it. There's a vehicle for people like that. It's called the Defender. The Defender is an icon, reimagined for a new generation of explorers through thoroughly modern design. Its interior is modern and functional, with rich material finishes and quality craftsmanship. When you're in a Defender, you can tell the interior is built for purpose. Luxury appointments throughout and practical storage options ensure you adventure in comfort. This is a vehicle capable of great things and engineered to meet challenges head-on. Wherever you're headed, experience the Defender's legendary capability, both off-road and on. And there's a family of vehicles for Defender. Meet the Defender 90, Defender 110, and the 8-seat Defender 130. Are you ready to embrace the impossible? Explore the Defender at LandRoverUSA.com.
Anyway, so Phoebe loves ton gossip, and so she is
Yes.
like hip to what's going on, right? She knows like the popular things, and she's definitely never been a part of that world, except in the sense that she's been a tutor or a governess or the girls who go to that school that she teaches.
Yeah, and there is one character in the tabloids of the time that is constantly in rotation,
Well,
and that is the Marquess. Uh-oh.
ooh. Oh, what's his
The
name?
Marquess Dendroy. The Marcus. Is it Dendroy?
You have
His first name is Jules.
You have, like,
Julian.
5 letters correct in that name.
What is his name?
Dryden.
Dryden. Shit. It's so much easier when I read it with my eyeballs and not my earballs. You know what
So
I mean?
anyway, she knows all about Marquess Dendroy because
No.
he is basically the fashionable, right? Everybody wants to be him, or everybody,
Mhm.
they either want to be him, they want to fuck him, or both.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yes.
So she knows all about him. And Mel, I don't know if there's something in the air, if
Ooh.
there's something in the water.
Oh.
I don't know.
It seems environmental, though, is what you're saying.
All I'm saying is that you remember the obsession that I had with Cade last week?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Dryden's doing it too?
Dryden did it for me in a way that I was like,
Wow.
what?
I mean, Dryden was smooth even when he wasn't smooth. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and I think what the actual thing is I'm suddenly realizing, partially because podcast, right? Because now I have
Mhm.
this recorded thing of me talking about all of these heroes and heroines that I'm obsessed with,
Mhm.
right? And there seems to be a pretty common denominator. Like, granted, last week with Cade was a level that has not been seen publicly,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
But
that was
like,
new.
the common denominator seems to be somebody who's very restrained and stoic
Emotionally
and
remote.
witty.
Yeah, because then
And
it's special to you.
yeah,
And
I think
you're the special
I think
one.
I'm also starting, like, I'm coming to the conclusion that part of the reason I love it so much is I need that leveler. You know?
Oh, yeah, I hear that hard.
I need a
Yeah.
leveler, right? Like, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
be with somebody like me, or at least not only somebody like me, because
Mhm.
one, we would never get anything done. Two, my head would
Yeah.
literally explode from excitement because I feed off of other people's energy.
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
we would just ping, 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 ping.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I just, boy, Dryden did it for me, man.
Yeah, same. So she's in this shop, and all of a sudden, the celebrity of celebrities walks in, and he like does a scan of the entire place, and he has come in because he needs a fan. And the proprietor is so excited that he's there, and his carriage is outside. So, like, other people are coming in to be like, "What are you buying, Dryden? I bet we should buy it too." And it's wild. So they end up talking because he's there to like talk to the mistress of her school. What's up?
Very importantly, Mel,
Yeah.
I know that you were just about to skip it, but it's very important for later in the book. In this shop, she's admiring a bonnet.
I wasn't going to skip it, ma'am. Come on. You think I'm going to forget the bonnet?
Why wouldn't you mention it before mentioning the school then?
I was just going to say, in regular life, he would never speak to her in the shop. But because he tells the proprietor that he's there to go to her school, he's like, oh, she's a teacher at that school. They end up like awkwardly saying hello. She doesn't know what to do with herself. And she's like standing in front of this, barrage of bonnets that she's been really, really coveting one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So he ends up being like, well, yeah, I suppose I might see you at the school or something like that. And she ends up leaving.
Hang on.
What?
No, they introduce each other to each other, and then he does not interact with her another single time, except when Waterboard walks into the same shop.
Oh my God, Waterboard is there!
Yes,
I
he
forgot
walks in
this.
and he's like, Waterboard is a big ol' asshole, right?
Yeah,
He
he's
is,
douche.
and he's like a wagerer in the worst kind of way. And he's like,
Mhm.
I'll wager you 10 pounds that you can get a kiss from that that teacher over there. But he says it in Latin or Italian. Oh my God.
Not
she
knowing that she
speaks
can speak 5 languages.
fluently. Oh my God. This heroine is so sexy.
We have a cunning linguist, on our hands. You had to have heard that before, that play on words. You haven't?
No, maybe.
I did not make that up. That's a thing people say.
You should have just taken it. Why would you admit to me that you didn't make that up?
Thousands of people listen, so I don't want to take credit for somebody else's
I love the idea of you like stalking our email and social media anyway.
Oh my God,
People can
people keep talking
contact us.
to me.
Well, no, I love the idea of you stalking it and just like delete, 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 like delete before I can see it. Also, like to be fair, I would forget. So anyway, but Waterburn comes in and he's like, "I'll give you 10 pounds if you can get a kiss from that teacher over there." And
Mhm.
Lord Ice, Marquess Dendroy,
Yeah.
Julian Spencer looks at her half a second and then turns away and he's like, "Why would I want a kiss from her?"
Or
All
10 pounds. I don't need a
Mhm.
kiss from her, and I don't need 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Waterboard.
And it
Oh, and
hurts
it's
her
rough.
feelings, understandably. And by the way, when he first walked in, like the most pompous ass in the world, he walks in, everyone goes dead silent and stares at him, and he just says, "Dendroy."
It's a Dryden. You're gonna make me think his name is actually Dendroid.
I know.
No, don't do it.
So anyway, yeah, then we zippy zap.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
the headmistress of her school asks her to essentially give him a tour and like tell him what's up. So they end up on a tour and they do some banter, Sabrina.
banter
That
in
is
this book
wild.
is so good.
It's so,
To be
so, so,
clear,
so
the
good.
banter is also fantastic in the first book. Like Julie Ann Long
Yeah,
has
it seems
a
like a hallmark
gift
of this
for
author, for
witty
sure.
banter. She has a couple of hallmarks, especially because I was essentially reading both of these books in tandem.
Mhm.
Like I noticed, so in the first book, and I'll tell you more about all of this in the quickie, but like in the
Yeah.
first book, she's also about to leave the country, but she's going to the Americas. In this
Okay.
book, she is preparing to leave the country because she's going to go be a teacher with a missionary trip in Africa, and she just needs to get out of the
Mhm.
country. There's a lot of like little things that I was
Mhm.
clocking as we were going through, but still they are definitely like differentiable characters, right? So like the first book,
Sure.
he's very much a funny golden retriever boy. This
Aw.
book, more of a German shepherd boy, you know?
Yeah, more of a German Shepherd. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
a protector, but like he's not gonna snuzzle
Stoic.
on you
Mhm.
unless, you're really his.
Until he does snuzzle.
Until exactly. So anyway, he asks her weird things like, "Don't you think you ruin the girls for marriage by teaching them facts?" She's like, "No. What are you talking about?" And oh, it's great.
And then they're alone in this room. And the entire time that they've been meandering, she's been thinking, is he gonna try? Like, is this when he's gonna try and kiss me? Is this when he's gonna
Uh-huh.
try and kiss me? And then she can't take it anymore. And she looks this man dead in the face and she's like, "So, like, are you gonna kiss me or not?" And
Right.
literally, he freezes and he goes through like 8,000 different emotions on his face and then settles on good natured defeat. And that's when I fell in love, right? And
Yes.
that's when I was like, "Oh no,
Uh-huh.
Dryden's
Yeah.
gonna be a problem."
Yeah,
And
and he
he's
says that announcing it really takes all the fun out of it.
and
Which
then
is
she's like, "All the fun?" And he's like, "Miss Vale, yes? Are you flirting with me?" Like,
Uh-huh.
he is so shocked by her. And the
Yeah.
entire time he's been surprised by her because he never knows what she's gonna say next. And he is delighted.
And her internal banter is just as funny as, like, their banter because, like, for
Yes.
example, in this thing, she's like, don't say it," and then she says, "All of the fun," does the innuendo, and then in the inner monologue, it says, "She'd said it anyway." Like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
so
so
then they're
yeah, go ahead.
continuing talking, and she's like, "Why are you so surprised? Is it because I'm plain?" And he's like, "I mean, you're not unappealing."
Mhm, mhm.
Weird
She's like, "Oh, I
face.
know. I've got really great skin. Thanks so much. Thanks.
And then
People tell me all the time."
and then he's like, "So your eyes have been unattended in compliments?" And she's like, "Are you about to compliment my eyes, Lord Dryden?" And he's like, "I wouldn't dare." You'd find my compliment wanting, and I shall feel a fool. Like,
Ah,
that's just like the tiniest snippet, and we're not gonna keep quoting literally the entire book because otherwise this is an 18-hour long podcast, right?
yeah, for sure.
But it's so good. So they actually end up chatting like very frankly about some things because she says, maybe I've just never met a man who I cared about inspiring their imagination to be more creative than complexion. And
And because of my class, there's a really good chance I won't,
uh-huh. And he's
you
like
know?
in his inner monologue, because to be
Yeah.
clear, like their inner monologues are so perfect for them. Like you don't
Mhm.
even need it is so clear immediately from word one of every chapter whose head you're in. Like, no question
Absolutely.
about it. And it's not even chapter to chapter. It's, like scene from scene. And in his head, he's like, was she daring him to charm her? He was
Mhm.
a Marquess. A Marquess who coincidentally likes a dare.
Yeah.
And I was like, do it, do it, do it,
Do
do
it,
it.
do it,
But
do
they
it.
didn't. So he's already starting to notice that he like feels a lot of weird things around her. Like he really loves her laugh. And he's like, what the fuck? That's not normal for me.
Mhm.
And they have this conversation. And by the end of it, she's like, so I guess you probably don't want to kiss me anymore. And he's like, I mean, in the future, if you want to get kissed, maybe a different conversation would help, you know? And it
Yeah.
like she just saunters off.
Be a little bit more coy. And she's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, Ta, okay, for sure." And during this whole process, she gets a letter that she has been invited to a like summer country party for a Redmond girl that she used to tutor. She's been going back and forth about whether or not she's going to go.
It's a 2-week house party.
Right. And then she overhears that he is going to this party, and that is what decides her. She's like, yes, sure. Plus, she can use a little bit more money, and this would be a paid companion position
Yeah.
because the girl's parents are like in Europe or whatever, rich people shit, and they want to make sure that like nobody takes advantage of her or
My
whatever.
God. So the entire time I was reading this book, every time, at least the first part of the book, before Lisbeth
Hmm.
turned into such a raging, awful human being,
Yes.
when she was still just kind of like a fluttery little flitterbit or whatever,
Uh huh.
um, all I could think of were the parallels, our conversation from last week, where we were like, yeah, these are definitely rich people. Cause like every time Phoebe says something, Lisbeth is like, what? What do you mean? That's how you live.
Yeah.
This is just how life is. And I was like, rich people shit.
Absolutely. It made me think of the Maiden Lane book with Duke Wakefield and Artemis
Mm-hmm. That too.
because it's the same trope of like he's supposed to marry her friend.
I was thinking that while we were reading this, I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God, this is Duke of Midnight.
Yes, yes, yes. Except that Penelope is insufferable from jump. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
it like creeps up on us. Lisbeth shows
Okay.
us who she is from the beginning,
Guess what?
but what?
I wonder, and I'll tell you about it. I wonder if we knew that she was a pain in the ass piece of shit if I had read the first 5 books.
Golly, I don't know. You'll have to tell me in the quickie. But I felt like Lisbeth showed her true colors
You
from
showed
the
her ass.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're now at this party. It's like the opening salon situation. And she walks in and she sees him and he's talking with Lisbeth. And so she ends up like, Lisbeth brings her over. She's like, come here, come here, come here. And when she gets there, she's expecting Lisbeth to introduce her to Lord Dryden and whoever else is standing there. And instead, she says, oh, because Lisbeth notices that he's looking at Phoebe across the
Mhm.
room. And then as soon as she gets there, she's like, oh, I left my bag upstairs. Can you please go get it? It's like the bag that's on the bed. Please go do that for me. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. And so she's treating her like a servant in front of this suitor.
She's also was invited as a family friend to this entire event and gets
Yeah.
put in the servants' quarters.
Yeah, it's sort of like the in-between, not quite the servants' quarters, not quite the family rooms
I
or
was
whatever. It's
so fucking
ridiculous.
annoyed. And like it was
Yeah.
explained like she explains it away in her own head. She's like, "Why what the hell is happening?" Okay, well the mom is, blah 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 blah. But I was so freaking mad from jump. I was like, this is not going to end well. Guess what?
Well, and this opening salvo sort of shows exactly what Lisbeth thinks about her role in this party. So she leaves to go and get it, and then she ends up dawdling at a window because she's just like, what the fuck, man? Like, this sucks. And then he follows her. Oh my God.
So much of what we want to do can seem impossible, but the highest achievers among us are the people still striving, still reaching for something. It's those people who approach the impossible and embrace it. There's a vehicle for people like that. It's called the Defender. The Defender is an icon, reimagined for a new generation of explorers and fully equipped for 21st century adventures. 3D surround cameras with ClearSight ground view let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. And ClearSight Rear View offers an unobstructed rear view, even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler, while intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Plus, the next-generation Pivi Pro infotainment system helps make more of your world. There's a family of vehicles for Defender, too. Meet the Defender 90, Defender 110, and the 8-seat Defender 130. Are you ready to embrace the impossible? Explore the Defender at LandRoverUSA.com.
The most innovative companies are going further with T-Mobile for Business, like Delta Airlines. Together with T-Mobile for Business, Delta Airlines is putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information, from the Delta Sky Club to the Jet Bridge. This is elevating customer experience. And Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to connect over 2,200 stores around the country with 5G business internet. Plus, T-Mobile is powering AI solutions so Tractor Supply team members can match shoppers with the products they need faster. This is enriching customer experience. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
It's time to have your high five moment with High Five Casino, the top social casino where the action and real prizes never stop. Fun spins and big wins are right at your fingertips with over 1,000 games, including High Five Casino exclusives. High Five Casino is always free to play with free coins given out every 4 hours. Sign up today for a free welcome offer that can get you spinning and winning right away. Visit highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
So they start talking, and he has no idea why he's there. Like, he's just like, what is the matter with me that I have to talk to this woman? And he ends up asking her about herself, and she refuses to tell him anything. And there's this play on 1001 Arabian Nights. Oh, he says to her, like, ooh, keep on saying school teacher words. Ooh, yeah, those multisyllabic. Ooh, yeah. And she says, what do you think I am, Scheherazade? And he's like, another one. Ooh, another one. And that's
So
a really
cute.
sordid story, too.
Yeah. And importantly in this conversation, they're talking about gifts because she realizes
Yes.
that the fan he bought was for Lisbeth because she sees Lisbeth using it in the salon. And they're talking and he's like, has nobody ever given you a gift? And she's like, I mean, I have been given a gift, but not one that shows that somebody knows me. And I suppose that I should like a gift that makes me feel known. And he is confused.
Very intrigued.
He's like, what do you mean by known? And she's like, something unique to me.
And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be for me.
Yes. And that's just, he listens.
Yeah,
He takes
it's
that to
wonderful.
heart.
And then he says, well, what about a gift for me? And she says, oh, come on. What do you mean a gift for you? And he's like, well, I've sort of noticed that I give a lot of gifts, but I don't really get any. And she realizes, like, oh, shit, people probably think he has everything that he wants because he's the most fashionable, rich dude. And she's like, oh, shit, like, all right, maybe I could give him a gift. And so the only thing she tells him is that she was born in London. But also, he says, like, I've been wondering about you, Miss Vale. And she's like, oh my gosh, give it up. I will loan you 10 pounds if you need it so badly. It's so embarrassing to watch you try so hard for this kiss. And then he says, you want to know what I think? I think you haven't been able to stop thinking about me since we saw each other at the school. And in her brain, she says to herself, I've stopped thinking about him long enough so that I could dream about him. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So then this whole theme of Lisbeth essentially treating her like hired help
Yeah.
continues because we're at a musicale event and Lisbeth is
Mhm.
all fussy because Dryden is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And she also, to basically take her power back, is
Right.
like, hey, go get me my shawl. And then is like, oh, wait, also go get your shawl.
Yeah, get yours
She didn't
too.
even want her shawl, but
She's
whatever.
so magnanimous.
So she goes up, gets Lisbeth's shawl, and then as she's walking across the courtyard to get her own shawl, Dryden's out there and he calls out to
Uh-huh.
her and he's smoking a cheroot and she's like, "What are you doing out here?" And he's like, "Well, you remember those mistresses that I told?" Or no, he specifically says, "Well, the soprano in there singing."
Has really good aim.
Yep. And then immediately Lisbeth or Phoebe's like, because he had told her about mistresses who threw
Oh.
things at him, and
Yeah.
she clocks it. She's like, "Oh, oh,
Yeah.
ha, ha." That's
And so
hilarious.
this specific mistress says or threw a humidor at him. And earlier, when he found out she could speak a ton of languages, he was like, "Oh, what is this phrase?" And it's in Spanish, and it says, "This is what I think of your gift, you son of a whore." And then she, because this lady's Italian, she says in Italian, like, I bet she said, "This is what I think of your gift, you son of a whore," but in Italian. And he is just like enamored of her.
He's
It's so
enthralled
great.
by her. Like, this is definitely a he falls first situation. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so, and he can't figure it out. He doesn't
Yeah.
understand it because he's never felt like this about anybody. And also, everything for his entire life, everything he does has a purpose. He knows exactly why he makes the decisions he does. He knows exactly what he has a plan. And we find out, I think, in this scene, that the
Mhm.
reason he's marrying or seeking out Lisbeth is because the final piece of land that he is trying to regain after his whatever father lost everything.
Mhm. He promised his mother that he would get this one piece of land back because it came with her dowry.
Yeah, it's her childhood home.
Right. And so Phoebe says, and I'm guessing there's stipulations on the land still. And he sort of looks at her wryly and he says, yes, it is also attached to a different dowry.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, he's marrying Lisbeth to get this land back, in addition to whatever else.
And so they continue chatting and they are talking mistresses. And she asks him if he's attached right now. And he freezes and looks at her and he's like, no. But before the conversation can continue, the opera starts and she is brought low. Like, she is in pain at how beautiful it is. And she like reaches out to grasp his sleeve to
she
like
involuntarily
hold her
like
steady.
grabs.
And he's
gobsmacked.
We can't keep using the word enamored and enthralled, but his flabber is gasted in the best kind of way.
Absolutely.
And he's just looking at her enjoy this music, and it's like a religious experience for him.
Right.
Watching her experience it. And she's asking him questions about it, and he's answering, and it's beautiful. And then when it ends, or it was very cute during it, because at one point he started to like tell her about his first time at the opera, and she was like, shh, shh, shh.
Yeah, don't talk. I have to listen to this. So then she realizes that like she spent too much time with him. Lisbeth is probably going to notice. And so she's like, okay, I have to go. And then as she's walking away, he says, where were you born in London, Scheherazade? And then she like stops and like walks backward a couple of steps, almost involuntarily. Like she's just like sucked back toward him. And she says, 7 dials. And then, oh my God, in her inner monologue, it says, mull that here in the dark, Lord Dryden. And then she says, and you owe me a gift. And then walks away and goes inside. Ooh! So the important thing about this is just that she hands Lisbeth the shawl, and then Lisbeth smells the cheroot smoke. And she's like, what are you doing? Are you smoking outside? And then her cousin, Jonathan, who I'm sure becomes important in a later book, leans forward and he's like, no. She was probably just around me. I've been smoking cheroots all day or whatever. Like, she doesn't smoke. And then she smells her own shawl, realizes that it smells like his cheroots as well. And she's like, and I'll never wash it again, basically. So now the next morning comes around and he feels like an idiot because it's barely even breakfast time and he's back at that shop. And he's just like, I wanted to send a footman, but like I can't tell them to stand and then turn to 4 o'clock and then look at the corner that has the most light and then look at yourself in the mirror to make sure that you're in the correct place to where she was standing and then turn and like look at the bonnet that she was obviously looking at. He says that he has to find the bonnet via geography.
And then when he does grab it, he is so happy that he got it. And he thinks to himself, and now he was wildly, humbly grateful he'd noticed her.
Yeah.
Because he, for some reason, had never before wanted so desperately to please someone.
Yes.
And so she wakes up and she has a present. And when she opens it, it's the bonnet. And there's a note with it.
Yeah, there's a
that
note.
says,
Tell them about the note.
I should like to know you.
Oh my God. How dare. And so now it's time for him to uncharacteristically beam in a church. All right?
Oh my.
Because they go to church and he gets there early because he doesn't want to miss her walking in. He's the most. And so as he's walking in, or as she's walking in, he's at the front of the church. She sees him. She's wearing the bonnet. And then she smiles. And like Lisbeth is right in front of her. And like she's sending like a coy look at him or whatever.
He doesn't just smile.
Yeah.
He is grinning.
He cheeses.
In his head, when he sees her, he's like, hallelujah. She's wearing the bonnet. His hands have literally been sweating that he's so nervous.
Yeah.
And when Lisbeth notices him smile, obviously she thinks it's because of him.
And then everybody notices that they are supposedly smiling at each other. And then he's like, everything I do is with a purpose, and everybody thinks that's true. And so even though I'm cheesing involuntarily, I need to make sure that everybody thinks that I'm just like, smiling beatifically at everyone, welcoming them to church. And so he sort of like machine guns his smile all over the congregation. And it's ridiculous.
By the way, Melody, I am 99% certain that this hot priest is the hero in the next book.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. Okay, so now they are going to go. Lisbeth wants to go on a ramble to some ruins so that she can sketch and, generally just be looked at by Jules, essentially. And so as they're going, he ends up like very strategically staying back until he's next to her. And the way that he says, oh my God, they're chatting back and forth. And then he gets this like vulnerable tone in his voice. And he says, is it the right bonnet?
And she's like, it's the right one. And he's too relieved, too elated, in truth, too confused to speak. He just wanted to admire her in her bonnet. The desire baffled and irritated him. And then she says,
does it suit me? And he gets so mad at her because he's like really vulnerable right now and he feels like she's teasing him. And so he says, I don't know. Is it meant to improve you? And she just like looks at him like, like a little bit startled. And then he says, because nothing could. And she's like, oh my God, that's the meanest thing anybody's ever said to me. Holy shit. He realizes what that sounded like. And he's like, oh, no. I mean, like, you're beautiful on your own and nothing could make you more beautiful. It's just like, oh my God, it's adorable.
And like, they're so quiet and awkward. And then she disappears because every time Lisbeth is turned around on this walk, she like leans down to look at something or pops behind a tree or whatever because she knows it's going to be a problem if Lisbeth sees them walking and talking together. And then the last time that this happens, she's just gone. And he's like, what? Where did she go? And then he follows after her down this little trail and they end up in this really beautiful clearing.
It's full of sage, wild sage, everyone. She smelled the sage, and that's how she found this magical clearing.
Importantly,
Yeah.
he learns about her cat, Charybdis.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Is that how you pronounce that? Doesn't matter.
Charybdis.
Charybdis. And he's like, well, why would you
Oh my
name
God.
your cat Charybdis, which is like a monster from Greek
Yeah.
mythology? And she's like, because I wish that I had an ally, someone to protect me when I was growing up in St. Giles. And he is horrified.
He doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah.
Because he's basically been like, I gave you the present of all presents. And so I'm going to need your story now, your full story. And so she tells him that she was born in St. Giles and her mom and dad, like, life got lifing and they eventually both sort of left or died or something.
Yeah.
And she became an orphan and, like, sort of started fending for herself. There was, like, this apothecary that she knew who gave her a picture book of Greek myths. And she had already learned to read because her mom read to her. She thinks that the apothecary is the one who told, the dude who later became her benefactor about how smart she was.
Mm-hmm.
And so they plucked her out of St. Giles and put her in this school to, like, reform young girls.
Yeah, that she works at now.
Yeah, that's how she ended up, like, with the teaching position. Like, it's pretty Jane Eyre, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Universal knowledge. Very Jane Eyre.
Well, in Jane Eyre, it's like her aunt who doesn't want her anymore.
I know.
Which I know you know.
Yep, I know all about Jane Eyre. That
so
was
he's
by
like,
that one
oh my
author.
God. So that's Charlotte Bronte.
Oh no, I even had the wrong name in my head.
Who did you think?
Who do you think I thought?
Oh, the other one.
Ooh,
Now
your
I don't
turn.
know.
What's that name? What's that name, Mel?
I'm blanking. Pride and Prejudice by
Okay, well, you got their book right. Yeah, it's Jane Austen.
Austen. There we go.
So she plucks a bunch of sage and she hands him a bundle of it. And when he takes it from her, their hands brush and it's like,
oh my God,
fireworks, lightning hits. And he is, oh my God, he takes her hand. It was cold, which struck him as poignant. He wanted to warm her.
He had to warm her.
To warm her. So he brought her palm to his mouth. He softly opened his mouth against her skin, touched his tongue there, burned her with a kiss that was at once chaste and perhaps the most carnal he'd ever given.
That is lewd, sir. Okay. I cannot believe
listener,
that.
Okay,
I could not believe that.
Listener, this is one crazy thing. This is a slow burn, and it did not feel like a slow, but they do not do anything sexual
other than kiss and, like, maybe some boob stuff.
Yeah, but like he gets to second base.
Through.
That's like 60% it, and they don't have sex until like the last like 2 chapters, 3 chapters.
Yeah.
And like this is a extremely steamy book though.
Like yowza.
Julie Ann Long, what crossroads did you visit?
Yeah, ma'am. What demon did you get this skill from at the crossroads?
Because like I see a lot of authors where like there's only like one sex scene. That's totally fine. And the thing is like you can tell that they're trying to make the book still steamy and have that like that
sizzle.
Yeah, the sizzle.
Yeah.
And it falls a little flat.
Sure.
It's hard to do. And then Julianne Long walks in and fucking brushes off her shoulders and she's like, everybody
hold my cape, okay? I have work to do.
Ma'am. And let me tell you, that is a Julianne Long thing because the first book is also
nice.
Anyway.
Nice.
So much of what we want to do can seem impossible, but the highest achievers among us are the people still striving, still reaching for something. It's those people who approach the impossible and embrace it. There's a vehicle for people like that. It's called the Defender. The Defender is an icon, reimagined for a new generation of explorers and fully equipped for 21st century adventures. 3D surround cameras with ClearSight ground view let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. And ClearSight Rear View offers an unobstructed rear view, even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler, while intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Plus, the next-generation Pivi Pro infotainment system helps make more of your world. There's a family of vehicles for Defender, too. Meet the Defender 90, Defender 110, and the 8-seat Defender 130. Are you ready to embrace the impossible? Explore the Defender at LandRoverUSA.com.
The most innovative companies are going further with T-Mobile for Business, like Delta Airlines. Together with T-Mobile for Business, Delta Airlines is putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information. From the Delta Sky Club to the Jet Bridge, this is elevating customer experience. And Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to connect over 2,200 stores around the country with 5G business internet. Plus, T-Mobile is powering AI solutions so Tractor Supply team members can match shoppers with the products they need faster. This is enriching customer experience. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
High Five Casino lets you play your favorite slot and live table games like blackjack with the chance to redeem for real cash prizes. High Five Casino has a giant selection of over 1,200 games, including hundreds of exclusive games only found on High Five Casino. It's always free to play, and free coins are given out every 4 hours. Ready to have your own high five moment? Visit highfivecasino.com. That's casino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
So then it's inevitable at this point. And she cannot believe the sensation he's brought out of just her palm. And she closes her eyes. And then he says, "Look at me, Miss Vale," his voice a low demand. A moment's hesitation, he opened her eyes. He was absurdly thrilled to see them again. They were dazed and starry and wary. The sun haloed her, and the light both set her aglow and obscured her.
In his head, he's thinking, who kissed you first? And, I'm going to kiss the memory of it away. You're never going to, remember kissing anybody else.
Yes.
And then they kiss, and it's beautiful.
I mean, not only is it beautiful, but it's also the classiest description of frantically climbing each other like cranes. I mean, they are
desperate for each other.
Desperate.
And then when he finally pulls away, he says to her, "I didn't know I was going to do that." And she's like, "Do you always know what you're going to do?" And he says, "Always." And she says, "What are you going to do now?" And then, Jules!
Phoebe! Hello!
Everybody is about to come find them in that clearing. There's also the world's cutest, most adorable old dog that they hear snuffling in the forest coming up on them. And Julian Long is also great at visuals because
yes,
I could see it in my brain what this was because they paused, they froze.
And her bonnet is all fucked up. She's got ribbons tangled everywhere.
Her skirt is stuck up above her. It's ruched up.
Oh my God. And his hair
messes.
and his hat, I think his hat is on the ground maybe.
Yeah. And they're arguing about who, they're like, "We can't be seen here together." And they're arguing about who should disappear, who should run.
Who needs to leave.
And then he's like, "Okay, I'll go. And he goes to grab his hat. Right? And put it back on his head. And he knocks it off and he lunges for it. And then they can hear somebody coming through the bushes. And he dives to the ground, grabs his hat, and "Irk" was the last thing he said before he threw himself to the ground and slithered on his belly over the wet grass, aiming like a lizard for the hedgerow. His boot heels were just disappearing from view behind it when Lisbeth appeared, humming happily to herself. Phoebe was frozen. She felt certain she would never forget the image of a Marquess vanishing like a lizard into a hedgerow.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't manage to grab his hat. So she has to do jazz hands in front of Lisbeth and Lord Waterboard so that she can grab his hat also, Sabrina. The way this hat is described is only as a beaver hat. And the Paul Bunyan bullshit that I saw in my head, later on, she distracts them enough to throw the hat over the hedgerow, and it allegedly bruises him. And I just what I pictured was a raccoon hat, you know? And so I was just like, how did this bruise him?
So I wanted to confirm that I was correct in what
It's
I
a
thought a
top hat.
beaver. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I had to do a Google because I was like, there's no fucking way he's wearing a Paul Bunyan raccoon hat, but it's all I could
By
see.
the way, listener, and this is part of the reason I'm so, because she did it in the first book and she does it in this book as well. I was so desperate 15% into this book to have read everything else because Julianne Long sprinkles little things that seem inconsequential into her books. And then that check gets cashed. She brings it back and ties it up in a little pretty bow. And it
like,
is
you don't see it coming.
phenomenal. Yeah, because it all seems so natural the way, because like she keeps it in the front of your brain the entire book, but not for the reason inevitably. And you don't even notice that she's doing it because she's doing it so masterfully.
Yeah. So,
wow.
for example, just to make sure we don't like drop this thread later on, this bruise on his head turns into him pulling the front of his hair down into a forelock. And then because he is the trendsetter for all of the ton, everybody starts pulling down a forelock in front of their forehead like dipshits. And he is just like, why are these people like this the whole time? And then something really pivotal happens at the end because somebody's hair got in the way since they started wearing the forelock. It's incredible. Anyway, so she throws that thing, and then she also has to grab her sketchbook because she has sketched him, and she doesn't want Lisbeth to see that she's been like exclusively sketching him.
Very importantly, Mel,
yes.
She distracts Lisbeth by talking about the Ballad of Colin Eversey.
Yes.
Which is the first fucking book. I know the Ballad of Colin Eversey. This
Nice.
is why, this is a little Easter egg that this was the point where I was like, I'm gonna have to tell Mel we have to fucking record later. I have to read these first 5 books because like you, in this book, what did you think? Did you even remember anything about the ballad, her mentioning the Ballad of Colin Eversey?
Yeah.
You don't have any questions? You don't have any thoughts or concerns or feelings about it? It was just a
I
thing?
assumed it was part of the feud. And I heard like, you know what I heard? I heard the Sweeney Todd song, Attend the Tale of Sweeney Todd, except with Colin Eversey in there.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
Yeah, right?
I like that. But yeah, no, she dropped that little shit in there and I was like, God damn it, this is going to be all over
And it is.
That was the
It's all
confirmation. But that anyway, continue.
So now they all go back to the party. And he ends up like coming crashing back into the clearing before we go back to the party and being like, oh, hello, I've got lost and I fell down. It's totally cool. Everybody should fall down. And then 8 people throw themselves on the ground, basically. That doesn't actually happen, but you know. Also, Lisbeth notices that her bonnet is all messed up and like fixes her bonnet, and it seems like really intense to Phoebe in a way that she can't quite put her finger on. And then they all go back to the house, and then they have to get ready for like an evening salon party and dancing time.
Yes. And so while they're at this salon, importantly, Waterburn and Dryden are talking, and he can't stop looking at her. Like, he cannot take his eyes off of her. He is entranced. And Waterburn notices, and he's like, why are you so interested in the schoolmistress? Like, that's super weird. And he's like, well, and then he pauses. And I immediately got a sick feeling in my stomach because he pauses and he's like, I think I see the attraction. And then Waterburn goes up and asks to dance with her.
Asks to waltz, which, as we know on the Heaving Bosoms podcast, is the most sensual of the dances you can do. Okay?
He basically walked up to her, dropped trow, and said, what hole do you want me to stick it in?
Can I hump your leg just a tiny bit?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Then that leads to Waterboard bringing another dude over. He asks her to dance.
What's that other dude's name?
Oh, no. I think
he's a dandy.
I think it's like Graceberg or something. What is it? Is it Graceberg?
You got the G correct.
Did I?
Except it's his first name that has a G.
Oh, okay.
His name is Jeffrey Dondre.
Dondre. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Comment to the top.
So he comes over and he asks her to dance, and then these two twins who are like super popular, ask Lisbeth to introduce them, and they end up loving her. Their names are Marie and Antoinette. And then one of them says, our mother wasn't being like morbid or cute when she named us. She's just kind of stupid. And then Phoebe says, well, do you have siblings named Antony and Cleopatra? And like that goes over really well.
Yeah.
And she's now everybody's favorite. And it's like she decides to treat the evening like a dream because that's the only way she could be able to explain these incredible things that are happening that would never happen to a poor, low-class school teacher. Orphan. Yeah. Meanwhile, she's also been seeing him across the room every once in a while and like making surprised eyes at him like, can you believe what's happening? And then every time she takes one step toward him, he gets this like look like, don't come near me, like no, people can't see us together on his face. And it feels like a tiny rejection every single time.
Which like impressive because like that's not a tiny rejection to me. That's enough to send me gone. I'm out.
Absolutely.
BRB, I'm leaving for Africa tonight. Right now.
Absolutely.
Right this second. Me and Charybdis, deuces.
We're gone. Especially since Lisbeth ends up boxing him into asking her to waltz right in front of Phoebe at some point. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But it's the best ball she's ever been to.
Very importantly, this is another great example of he's the cool kid because they make eye contact. She's dancing with Waterboard, he's dancing with Lisbeth, and they make eye contact, and he stumbles, and it turns into this whole thing where he accidentally flings Lisbeth across the room and then falls to his knees.
And Lisbeth goes like spinning into the crowd, and whoever is there just decides to push her momentum back toward the dance floor. So she spins back toward him, and by that time he's righted himself enough to like catch her and keep waltzing.
Smooth as hell.
Smooth as hell.
So the rest of the night goes fine. She's a little tipsy on ratafia. She had a great time and it was so cute. And then as she's walking back to her room across the courtyard, he pops up out of nowhere and asks if he can have the fourth waltz.
And she says there were only 3.
And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure that there's not a law about how many waltzes there can be in an evening. And she's like,
or where they should be.
And she's like, but there's no music. And he's like, I'll hum if you like. And she's like, don't worry about humming. And he's like, good, I can't.
Good. I would feel so dumb. Yeah. And so they end up waltzing, and it's like the most romantic thing in the entire world.
Specifically, they're waltzing, and this killed me because he's like, am I a good dancer now that you have a comparison? And she's like, I don't know, after seeing what you did with Lisbeth. And like they're bantering and back and forth. And then she is telling him, she's like, well, I don't know. Dondre had a certain flair. And he says, but what I lack in velocity, I can make up for in elevation. And then he picks her up and twirls with her. And like she's giggling and he's laughing and he puts her down and now they just can't stop staring at each other. They've stopped moving. And he says in his head, I don't think I've ever done anything quite so whimsical before in my life. I've never wanted to. And
then y'all, I did not have ear stuff on my bingo card for this book, but wow.
He's whispering in her ear and getting real close and like nuzzling into her. And she is like clutching his hand because he licks her ear.
And then like in her ear.
And then places an open mouth kiss below her ear. And then like it is.
It's mesmerizing is what it is.
It was incredible.
It was like almost a sensory experience.
But the best part though is even with all of this like sexy time stuff, they're still like laughing together
and
and
bantering.
bantering.
And kind
'cause
of giving each other shit in an adorable way.
their love language is giving each
Is
other shit.
teasing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, he tells her, all I could think about all night was that I've never touched your hair. And like, I have to touch your hair.
He's cradling the back of her neck with his hands and like touching the little wisps back there. And
Mhm.
she's like, "So, what do you think?" And he's like, "Soft."
It's soft. Yeah.
And what she hears and what he means is, "It's yours." And then he tips her head back and
Yeah.
gives her the softest, most lovely, languorous,
Reverent.
chaste kiss.
Yeah.
And then it does not stay chaste.
No.
Mhm.
It's tits out in the courtyard, everybody, okay?
Yep.
And they writhing against each other at this point.
And then he ruins it.
He says, I can give you anything you want. I can give you a house in London. It could be so good between us. You can see me whenever you want. I'll try to get away as much as possible. And we can be together and you can have servants and I'll get you dresses and I'll get you jewelry and I'll get you all the things. And he says, don't you want me? And sort of before he goes into detail about what he's going to get her, she says yes. And then she realizes,
you will see me often, whenever you please. She realizes, oh my God, he doesn't want a wife. He wants a mistress.
It's a mistress situation.
And she freezes. And he doesn't realize she's frozen at first. And he's still snuffling all up on her.
Yeah.
And she's like, and what about your wife? And that's when he freezes and realizes he fucked up.
Yeah.
But also, he hasn't. Like, I understood where both of them were coming from in this instance, because he doesn't understand why she's upset. He's confused. And he's like, I haven't lied to you.
Yeah, you know I'm trying to marry this lady for that land.
Like, I've never made any intimation that this could be more than that.
And he's been incredibly honest about the role he sees himself in his family.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, he's the one who brought them back from the brink. Like, he takes his responsibility of being the patriarch incredibly seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to marry for family reasons and not, as he says, idiot, on a whim.
A whim, bro.
Yeah. And then she basically thinks, oh, I'm a whim.
Read the room, Dendroy.
Yeah. And so she's like, okay, so what you're proposing is a business transaction. And he kind of stumbles a little bit and he's like, I mean, if you would like to call it that, then we can. He has no idea where she's going in this conversation. And then finally she just says, I can't do this with you.
Well, and explicitly she says, you don't know me at all.
Yeah. Woof. Yeah, she says, you don't know me at all. She puts her tits away and she runs. All right, listener, that is where we're going to leave you for today. And we'll be back tomorrow to see if she can ever forgive him. Ah!
Spoiler, she does.
Yeah. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at heavingbosoms, on TikTok at heaving_bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with part 2.
highest achievers among us are the people still striving, still reaching for something. The people who aren't satisfied to stay where they are and want to keep climbing higher. And it's those people who approach the impossible and embrace it. There's a vehicle for people like that. It's called the Defender. The Defender is an icon, reimagined for a new generation of explorers through thoroughly modern design. Its interior is modern and functional, with rich material finishes and quality craftsmanship. When you're in a Defender, you can tell the interior is built for purpose. Luxury appointments throughout and practical storage options ensure you adventure in comfort. This is a vehicle capable of great things and engineered to meet challenges head-on. Wherever you're headed, experience the Defender's legendary capability, both off-road and on. And there's a family of vehicles for Defender. Meet the Defender 90, Defender 110, and the 8-seat Defender 130. Are you ready to embrace the impossible? Explore the Defender at LandRoverUSA.com.
The most innovative companies are going further with T-Mobile for Business, like Delta Airlines. Together with T-Mobile for Business, Delta Airlines is putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information, from the Delta Sky Club to the Jet Bridge. This is elevating customer experience. And Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to connect over 2,200 stores around the country with 5G business internet. Plus, T-Mobile is powering AI solutions so Tractor Supply team members can match shoppers with the products they need faster. This is enriching customer experience. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
High Five Casino lets you play your favorite slot and live table games like blackjack with the chance to redeem for real cash prizes. High Five Casino has a giant selection of over 1,200 games, including hundreds of exclusive games only found on High Five Casino. It's always free to play, and free coins are given out every 4 hours. Ready to have your own high five moment? Visit highfivecasino.com. That's casino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey parents, Greenlight is here to take one big thing off your to-do list, teaching your kids about money. With a Greenlight debit card and money app of their own, kids and teens learn to earn, save, and invest. You can send money instantly, set flexible controls, and get real-time notifications of your kids' money activity. Set up chores, and put allowance on autopilot to reward them for their hard work. Then, learn about the world of money together. Get 1 month free when you sign up at greenlight.com/podcast.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.